everyone, the best Emily here. Today I'm going to be doing a video that is the first of a series in a project I'm doing called Last Meal. And what it is mini felted versions of murderers and serial killers' last meal requests before they were executed. It's kind of bringing together my obsession / interest with true crime and needle felting that I love to do, and also making tiny cute little things. So it's kind of this interesting mix up of morbid topics with cutesy things, which I think is funny. Haha. So I decided that for the first one I'm going to do is he's a man named Wesley Allen Dodd. He was active in, I think, the 80s. He killed 3 children. You can always look up the real story, but his last meal request was salmon and potatoes, and he was executed by hanging, actually, which is super interesting, in 1993 because they hadn't done it in decades in Washington State. So what I decided to do for this, since it's just salmon and potatoes that can be interpreted many ways, I decided to do a pan-seared salmon with a lemon slice on top, and then a little pile of red potatoes. So that's what I decided to interpret that as, the salmon and potatoes. So that's what we're going to be doing in the next few videos, and thanks for coming along. Alright, so I'm going to start working on my fillet of salmon, and what I'm going to do, there's a fuzz on my thing, here we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the skin, because I want it to look like, it has its filleted skin on the bottom. And so what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to kind of layer some, from darkest to lightest, some wool here. So I'm going to start with the black, and then I'm going to go to kind of a brownish mixed with a little bit of, there's some white in there, and then a more pure brown. And then last, this is kind of a mixture of this wool, whoops, they're already mixed together, which is kind of has some pinks and whites in it, and then some of this tan stuff and a little dark, just kind of mixed together for the lightest end of the skin. So I'm going to layer them together, and I'm making them kind of wide because I'm actually going to make 2 salmon fillets, one for this. I'm actually going to make 2 of these projects because I'm donating one to a podcast called Murder in the Rain. So I'm going to make one for them and one for my series. So basically I'm just going to felt these together, and I'll be flipping them back and forth and just making it into kind of a nice little sheet of felt. Okay, so here's my kind of basic little sheet here. It's a little see-through, so I think what I'm going to do is to kind of give it a little bit more structure. I'm going to add another piece going the opposite. So these fibers are running this way right now. So I think I'm going to add another piece kind of to help the structure going this direction so it doesn't just fall apart, even though eventually it's going to be needle felted onto another little piece, the actual salmon piece. So I think what I'm going to do for that one is I'm going to use that felt that has kind of the different color browns in it, just as a background. So I'm going to, let's see, what side do I like better? I like this one, how it looks better, so I'm going to put this on the back of this one. Alright, so this is going to be my little piece of salmon skin. You're not going to see it so much when it's on display, but you'll be able to see this edge underneath the salmon fillet. But like I said, I'm making 2, so what I'm going to do next, and these are going to be kind of long, skinny fillets, because they exist. I saw them on the internet. I saw pictures, so no one get mad. So I'm going to kind of snip down the middle here. And then I will clean up the edges so that it doesn't look like one side was cut so much and the other one wasn't, like it does now. So I'm going to clean the edges up so that they look a little bit more uniform. And then I'll be able to move on to the actual meat part of the salmon fillet, which is going to be really fun. I'm excited because if you've ever looked at salmon from the side, it's got that cool, like almost semicircle shape, so that's going to be really fun. So I'm just going to finish these ones up, and then I'll be able to move on to the actual salmon meat. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with these. They're gonna be so cute. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm gonna set these aside for now. I'll just stick them up there. So the salmon is in kind of an interesting creation on its own, because salmon, when you think of salmon, you think of pink, but the thing is, salmon isn't like pink. It's not pink like this. So what I am figuring out is that I want kind of like a pink undertone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the basic shape of the salmon out of this pink, but then I'm going to go back over it with some oranges like this. This is a really cool one because it's got lots of like lights and darks. I love that one. I think it's called pumpkin or something. And even some of this rust color for some of like the more some of the edges and things like that. And then I'll probably go in with some kind of pale color to do the actual the lines that are in the side of the salmon. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do these. I'm gonna just do one. So I'm gonna pick one to kind of be my focus. I'll start with this one so that I make kind of the right length and everything for the salmon. And just gonna go from there. Alright, so this is my first little basic salmon shape, salmon fillet. They kind of taper on one side and then they're thicker, you know, more towards the middle of the fish. And then what will happen is I will attach this little piece of skin. Oh my god, it's so cute already! But I might do the rest of this actual salmon fillet next before I attach that. That can be like the last thing. So next I'm going to be adding, like I said, some of the orange, and it's going to be kind of a light so that kind of the pink comes through. I try to take some approach sometimes like oil painters do, where they put like their background color and then they layer on top of it. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do with this. So I'll take some of this and some of this rusty color next, and then lastly I will do the cool lines, and of course I'm going to do both sides because you'll be able to see it from both sides depending on how I mount the final piece. So that's going to be the next step. Okay, so now that I've finished the piece of salmon with the cool little pattern on the side, I'm going to attach the salmon skin, and then I'm going to work on the like actual grill pattern that's on the top and add some kind of the like herbs and spices, and I think I'm even going to put like a little lemon slice on top just to kind of finish it off. So that's what I'm going to do next, is finish up this piece of salmon so I can move on to my potatoes. Okay, so now I have my piece of salmon pretty much done, except I'm going to make a little lime slice, or excuse me, a lemon slice to kind of put right in this area. And what I did is I took some lighter orange and I just kind of made some little light stripes across it to kind of go with this green, as if the muscle tissue is going across. I attached the salmon skin on the bottom, so it's, you know, depending on how I place it, that at least is there. And what I did for the little like garnish is I just took some pieces of felt that I had left over. I have this brighter green and then this darker green. And the cool thing about the felt, when you cut it super tiny and you needle felt it, is it kind of breaks apart. So it looks a little more natural, like someone sprinkled it on there. And I'm going to leave it kind of, I'm not going to like really pound it in there. I'm going to leave it kind of looking natural and on top. So I'm going to set my little salmon slice aside, and then the next thing I'm going to be doing is starting making a little piece of lemon. So probably use this pale yellow for the inside of the lemon, not the rind part. And then use this, maybe a little bit of this yellow. I'm leaving these pieces to put on top later too. Something like that, with a little bit of the lemons have that ribbing down the middle, so I'll probably use some natural colored undyed wool for that. We'll see how I like it as I go. Yeah, so the way I'm going to do this is actually with a little circle mold, which is just a small piece of PVC pipe cut like this. It's a little bigger than the salmon, but at least it gives me a guide, and I can always trim it down and make the right size. So I think what I'm going to start with is I'm going to start with the inside color, just making kind of a little flat disc. And what I like about this is you put the felt inside, and then your fingers are kind of protected, which is cool because you can just go like this. This is the only time I would ever recommend, or not recommend, but say that you could look away from what you're doing for a moment. It's not a good idea to do. See, now I have kind of like a little disc shape for the lemon slice. And I can turn it over and just keep going and keep flipping it until it's the density that I want it to be. And then I will add the little lemon segment lines next, and I'll do the outside rind part last. Just want to keep going until it's... So now that it's got its basic shape, I don't have to use that anymore. And I can just start really getting it flattened down and shrinking it a little bit. I got that cylinder from a class I took where we made a mini breakfast, and we used that to make like the pancakes and stuff. It was really helpful, and like coffee mugs. So but that's something you could get on your own. But it's nice when you go to classes and they give you things that you can reuse and have lots of fun with. So I'm going to keep working on this lemon, and then I'll put it on when I'm done, and we'll show you what that finished piece of salmon looks like. Alright, I think I'm done with this piece of salmon. See, it's got its cute little lemon on top. It's got its cool texture inside, skin, other side. I'm happy with that. I might do a little trimming of the extra fuzzies and some cleaning up later, but I think that's pretty freaking cute! So the next thing I'm going to be doing is making some little tiny red potatoes to go next to it. So I'm going to just start making little tiny balls and make them look like little potatoes with more of my little garnish on top. Then I'll figure out how I'm going to place everything on the dish. Alrighty. It's so cute. Look at it. I love it. I love it so much. It's so cute. Oh my god. Ah! Alright, so there you have it. Our little salmon. Remember, I made two because one is being donated and one I'm keeping. So here's one of the little salmons all done. So that was our first video, and I thank you so much for coming along, and stay tuned for the next one where I'm going to be working on the red potatoes part of the last meal. And please like and subscribe and follow along on Instagram and Facebook and all that fun jazz. I'll put links in the description below. And I want you to remember that creativity takes courage. Bye!